You're listening to the micro version of the Savage Lovecast. www.savagelovecast.com.
If you're stuck in a relationship quandary, or if you're looking for sexual harmony, well, there's nothing you can't ask on the Savage Lovecast.
We usually open the show with a feel-bad story. Usually I go off on something that's annoying me or angering me. But this week, change of pace, I'm going to open with a feel-good story and a surprising feel-good story. Now, we had to record a few days in advance because I'm out of town, so I apologize if the world is on fire or something went down that you expected me to talk about and I am not talking about it, and I'm talking about this instead. But I kind of love this story. The headline was, "Students shocked to discover their math professor used to be a muscle daddy gay adult film star." Now, usually what comes next, you click through a headline like that, and usually what comes next is porn star fired, porn star run out of town on a rail, not ex-porn star, not we disapprove of porn and no one should do it, so we're glad this guy stopped doing porn or this woman stopped doing porn and created a new career and something that contributes in a more concrete way to the future, and da-da-da. Usually there is a sex panic, and usually this person who we didn't want to be doing porn in the first place because porn is terrible is driven back into the porn industry because they have no other options, because they're not allowed to have a second act or a different career, particularly if they work with kids. But that is not what happened. What I got to read, what I was delighted to read when I clicked through at QWERTY, where I saw this headline, wasn't what I expected to read at all. Students at La Sapienza University in Rome have been in a tizzy after learning their math professor used to work as a hardcore gay muscle daddy adult film star. The film star's name, the now outed former adult daddy muscle gay porn film star, Ruggero Freddy, and he was outed after he posted a video of himself to Facebook flexing his muscles, which are giant, and someone recognized his muscles from his past work in porn and outed him, and it hit the media in Italy in a very big way. It became a national story. Freddy, the math professor, got into porn because he couldn't find a job, and somebody saw his pictures online and offered him a job in California making a little bit of gay porn. And a quote from the story, "One thing led to another, and eventually he signed a contract with Cult Studios in California. He became known as Carlo Massi, a gruff bodybuilder with a penchant for hardcore sex. Freddy quit porn in 2013 and returned to Italy, where he got a master's degree in math. This is in addition to the master's degree he already had in computer engineering." So, story comes out, math prof at this university working with impressionable young minds. Hardcore gay muscle daddy porn star. And what happens? Nothing happens. Maybe because it's Europe, but Italy's a Catholic country. Still, nothing happens. Dude isn't fired. The students aren't shocked and appalled. Parents aren't grabbing pitchforks and torches and marching on La Sapienza University in Rome. Nope. Ruggero Freddy reports that things have been crazy for him in Rome, where he lives with his partner of 11 years and is now pursuing his PhD, but he hasn't been fired. His students aren't walking out, and it's a big sort of nothing of a story. Dude used to make porn. Dude now teaches math. I'm happy and proud of both my careers, Freddy says. They both reflect part of my personality. I was happy I was a good-looking guy and the world recognized this, and I am very happy the world recognizes that I am also a smart guy. You can be both sexual, even sexual on film, and smart. You can make porn that delights millions, and you can teach math that terrorizes millions to university students. These things aren't mutually exclusive or incompatible. So thank you, Rome, and thank you, QWERTY, for bringing this to my attention, and thank you, La Sapienza University, for not panicking, for not hitting the marks that we would have hit in America when this story came down. The university administration didn't panic, didn't fire this guy, and they allowed this math prof to be multifaceted, to be smart about math and good at sex on film too. Like I said, it's the feel-good story, for me at least, of the week. All right, coming up on today's show, we've got David Schmader, author of Weed, The User's Guide to 21st Century Handbook for Enjoying Marijuana. He joins us on the Magnum edition of the Savage Lovecast that you can subscribe to at www.savagelovecast.com. The Magnum subscription edition is twice as long, and there are no ads, ad-free, and lots more me at savagelovecast.com. Also, in the micro, tons of your Qs, lots of my As, all that on today's show. Thanks to Bombfell for supporting the Savage Lovecast. Bombfell is an online personal styling service for men that helps find the right clothes for you. Get $25 off your first purchase at bombfell.com/savage. That's BOMBFELL.com/savage. This episode of the Savage Lovecast is brought to you by adamandeve.com. Get 50% off one item and free shipping when you enter the offer code SAVAGE at checkout. This episode is brought to you by Blue Apron, the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country. Check out this week's menu and get $30 off your first meal with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/savage.
Hi, Dan and everyone. This is an early 30s West Coast cis female. I'm in a happy relationship. Everything's great. And here's the big but. I ended up joining FetLife due to your recommendation and wanted to look around, learn new things. And I ended up talking to a guy and eventually having phone sex with him. I haven't told my current partner. I've cut off all communications with this other guy. And I basically just want your opinion. I'm currently in a monogamous relationship. How shitty was this of me to do? Do I need to tell my partner? Or is this one of those times where you do it once and keep the guilt to try and keep the happy relationship?
So, you got on FetLife, you had a little phone sex with a stranger. Do you need to confess this to your partner with whom you have a monogamous commitment? Not necessarily. Sometimes it's better when you cheat or cheat light, and this is kind of cheat light that you did, to stuff that down the memory hole. If you're sure you're never going to do this again, if you tiptoed up to the abyss and maybe you stuck your toe in the abyss and you realize that this is not where you want to be, and you see now with sudden clarity what you were risking and the relationship that you imperiled by violating the agreement you had with your partner about exclusivity in a cheating light way, and you came to your senses and that's never going to happen again, and you deleted your FetLife account, you can stuff that down the memory hole. You do not have to tell. You do not always have to disclose. It's not always the best plan to alleviate yourself of the guilt by shifting the burden to your partner, who then has to worry about what this means. And if what this means, and you know that it means it's never going to happen again, you eat that. You sit with that. You stew in that forever, and you spare your partner that news. You don't shift the burden to them. That said, why did you join FetLife in the first place? What is it that you were looking for on FetLife? Is it stuff that you're not getting in your relationship, your monogamous relationship with your partner? Perhaps there's a conversation you need to have, not about this incident, but about whatever it was that prompted you to go join FetLife in the first place. Are you sexually unfulfilled? Are you sexually unsatisfied? Are there elements or dimensions to your sexuality that aren't being explored in your relationship, or perhaps can't be explored in your relationship? That's a convo that you need to have with your primary partner. You want to be sexually fulfilled. You want him to be sexually fulfilled. What does that mean? Is there a way for you in the context of your relationship to have everything you want? Asterisk, no one gets everything they want, but to have almost everything you want, or more of what you want, or your fantasies, to whatever extent your partner can help you realize them, realized with your partner or with your partner's consent. There are sexual adventures, it would seem, that you would like to go on. Can you invite him along on those sexual adventures with you? If you can't, that's a conversation you need to have with your partner. That's an assessment you need to make about your relationship, about whether it's viable, whether you want to stay in it. I'm sorry, sex is important, desire is important, fantasies are important, and people will undermine and sabotage their relationships to get out of them for sex. Sex always wins in the end. Invite your partner along on your sexual adventure. Invite them into your sexual truths and see what their sexual truths are, what their desires are, their fantasies are. Be there for each other to help realize them and make them possible, to make them happen. You want to be able to look at your partner and think, this is the reason why I get to. Not necessarily get to fuck other people if you have a monogamous commitment, but I get to do the things sexually that I fantasize about and that I want to do to whatever extent is possible, and vice versa, that they look at you and feel the same way. So if what prompted you to join FetLife in the first place is some bedrock fundamental dissatisfaction and unhappiness and sense of unfulfillment in your relationship, that's the convo you need to have. And you can leave out the phone sex. Oh, let me ask you a question. Are you getting enough? And when you get it, is it fun? Is it accessorized enough? I bet you'd love more and more accessories and more fun, and you can get that by going to adamandeve.com, where they want to give you more. With 50% off just about any item, plus free shipping on your entire order. So what do you have to do to get your 50% off one item and your free shipping and your more fun? It's not hard. Just go to adamandeve.com and select any one item. It could be an adventurous new toy or anything you desire. Just enter offer code SAVAGE at checkout and you will get 50% off almost any item. Go check out adamandeve.com today, select one item and get 50% off, including free shipping when you enter offer code SAVAGE. That's SAVAGE, SAVAGE at adamandeve.com.
Hi, Dan. I'm a late 20s female living in San Francisco in a van that I converted into a little home. I spend a lot of time outdoors, so it is relevant with my lifestyle. I have many reasons why I chose to do this, but one of the biggest is that I'm not wasting money on rent. My question is, how do I go about revealing this information while dating? Living in San Francisco basically makes it critical that your home situation is a topic of conversation. And if I lie and say I'm renting, then that implies I make a hefty amount of money. And I'd also have to find a way to avoid ever bringing them home. That, and I'm terrible at lying. I worry about telling a guy on our first date that I live in a van for safety reasons. How do I go about this? I really love my lifestyle and I want to live in a van long term. Please help.
Just a couple of weeks ago, we spoke with a woman who was dating a guy who lived in his van or lived in his car. So it's happened twice, 2 calls. This is now officially a trend driven by housing scarcity, by gentrification, by displacement, by the failure in so many cities to build to keep up with demand for housing. More and more people are going to be opting for this kind of life. And you say that this makes you happy, that fits in well with your lifestyle. It allows you to live in San Francisco and to pursue the outdoor activities that you're primarily focused on at this moment. And it works for you. So Yahtzee, and congratulations. And I think you should be completely honest and straightforward and transparent with people that you date when you're ready to be honest and transparent with them about your circumstance, about your living situation. Not that you have anything to be ashamed of, but because I think you're right about the safety concerns. A van, if you're living in a van and you go out on a first date or a second date with a guy who proves to be untrustworthy or a bit stalkery or violent or can't take no for an answer, who after the second date you realize you don't want to see him again, but he knows where your car is parked and he's just banging on a window away from getting your attention. Yeah, I think you want to vet somebody a little bit longer before you share this information with them. So I'm staying with friends. So I share an apartment with a roommate right now. I'm living cheap and I can't have people over. It's a little too crowded, a little too awkward. Let's hang out at your place. I think you can kick the can down the road with a few little white lies and then tell them the truth when you tell them the truth. Not just the truth that you live in a van, but the truth about why you obfuscated about where you live for your own personal safety. Any guy that you're dating who reacts negatively to being fobbed off in that way is not a guy I think you want to be dating. Most guys I think any woman would want to date or should want to date is a guy who hopefully necessarily these days is sensitive to a woman's totally reasonable concerns about her safety. 53% of women who are murdered in this country are murdered by ex-boyfriends, boyfriends, ex-husbands, or husbands. Women have to run defense for their own safety, for their own protection, for their own peace of mind. And a guy who takes that personally, when you tell him that you didn't tell him right away that you live in a van and this is generally where it sparked because you wanted to have a better sense about who he was and whether you could trust him, a guy who makes that all about him in the moment that you disclose it. Oh, he's so offended, he's so hurt, how could you think that? That's a good indication that you don't need to keep dating that guy, that he was indeed the kind of guy that you would want to have over to your van in the first place. Good luck. Blue Apron is the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country. Their mission is to make incredible home cooking accessible to everyone. But, asterisk, you do not have to cook Blue Apron at home.
Yeah, we are packing up the dogs and going to the coast and sitting by a nice warm fire and taking some walks on a stormy beach this weekend. And everything in between is going to be cooking up everything from our Blue Apron box.
We're just tossing the Blue Apron boxes in the car. We rented a cabin that has a full kitchen. And so we don't have to shop on the way. We don't have to buy a ton of groceries and then haul them back to Seattle. We're going to take exactly the amount that we need, the recipes, all the ingredients, cook them there, and be done.
And everything's recyclable, all the packaging. So we just throw everything right in the recycler and it's done.
And who are you and why am I going to a cabin with you?
I'm your husband and you're going to a cabin with me because I'm forcing you to take 2 days off.
Blue Apron can help you improve your cooking skills because they give you step-by-step instructions and offer a huge selection of cuisines and cooking styles. If you are new to cooking, Blue Apron is a really great way to start. Here are some menu items coming up next week. Beef and broccoli with persimmon rice and mushroom and red rice casserole with kale and baked eggs. Check out this week's menu and get $30 off your first meal with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/savage. You will love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked or cooked at a cabin on the coast meals with Blue Apron, so do not wait. That's blueapron.com/savage. Blue Apron.
A better way to cook.
Hi, Dan and the tech-savvy at-risk youth. I am here with my best friend. We're both late 20s heterosexual women in long-term committed relationships, and we have a question for you. So I have been in my relationship for 5 years, and my boyfriend and I have a really healthy and fun relationship around poops and farts. We fart in bed a lot, and we always giggle, and it's really cute. And we even will send each other selfies of our faces while we are taking a shit. And it's some good potty humor all around. However, recently I've been wanting to explore some ass play in the bedroom, just get into that, and he wants nothing to do with it. I've asked him to consider finger, and he just is really, really not into it. So that's my story. I'm going to hand it over to my best friend.
Hey, everybody. So I've also been in a relationship for a while, a year, and my partner and I have been very open about ass play from the beginning. He's the first person that I've ever experienced this with, but he will do a finger on me, he'll put down on me with his tongue, and it's been amazing. But when it comes to talking about bowel movements or farts, he wants nothing to do with it. He freezes up when I ask, like, how are you feeling? Or if I fart, he'll just completely ignore it, even if I giggle after and be like, what? So our question to you, Dan, is can you have both?
Yeah. Can we have really hot, like, ass play and sex and explorations of the butt, but also have really intimate, funny, healthy conversations about bodily functions and poops and farts? What do you think?
Good Lord, straight people are weird. Yeah, you can, I guess, have it all, but not with these guys. I gotta say, though, that as someone who enjoys the other stuff a butt can do for a person, that when you're about to stick your tongue up there, you don't want to be reminded or cognizant of or incapable of suspending your disbelief about the other stuff butts do. If you are in the kind of funny about shits and farts relationship where you're constantly farting in front of each other, where you're sending each other selfies of your faces while you're shitting, it might be hard for your partner to disassociate your ass from shit and stink and eroticize it in the moment. Most people into ass play, despite what religious conservatives are constantly saying about gay people, are not there for the feces, are not there for the stink. They're there for the nerve endings. They're there for the sensations. They're there for everything else, and they go to great lengths. We go to great lengths to make sure that shit and terrible smells aren't part of it. And if most of the first person, most of your interactions with your boyfriend about your ass are about the terrible things that come out of it and the terrible stink that you can produce with it in your bedroom, yeah, he might not be able to pivot to sticking his tongue in your ass, or he might not find asses erotic at all. Asses might just for him be about stank and turds. As for the second lady who jumped on the phone, your boyfriend is into ass play, but he's clearly into ass play and has to pretend that he doesn't know what else ass does to maintain his erotic sort of fascination with and connection to your hole. And if I had to pick one or the other boyfriend, the boyfriend who enjoys shit jokes and shit selfies and fart humor in the bedroom, but no ass play, or the boyfriend who enjoys ass play, but doesn't want to have a lot of fecal centered humor or farty humor, I would take the latter. I would take the boyfriend who is into ass play, but not so much into scatological humor or farts. So you ask if you can have it all. And maybe you can. Maybe there are people out there. Maybe there are guys out there who can do both. The like, ha ha ha, shit farts, and the can't wait to put my tongue in your butthole. But neither of you are dating one of those guys. So if you want one of those guys, you're both going to have to break up with your boyfriends and go find the holy grail dude who wants a shit selfie and then wants to stick his tongue in your butt. And for all those guys out there who are into shit selfies and fart jokes and sticking your tongue in a girl's hole, please don't call. We're not a dating service. We do not hook up randos with people who've called into the Lovecast. Good luck to you all. Thanks to Bombfell for supporting Savage Lovecast. Bombfell is an online personal styling service for men that helps find the right clothes for you. I personally hate going shopping, so I love that Bombfell does all the work for me. After completing a simple questionnaire, you are matched one-on-one with a dedicated personal stylist who handpicks every piece. Your stylist will email you his or her selections, after which you'll have 48 hours to make any changes or even cancel altogether. You are in total control. When you sign up, you pay $0 because there are no fees to work with Bombfell. It's the only styling service that does not charge a styling fee or a subscription fee. You only pay for the clothes you keep. Bombfell is the only service that can make this claim. It's completely flexible. You can receive clothes every 1, 2, or 3 months, and you can pause or cancel at any time. Clothing is shipped straight to your door. No need to spend hours shopping at the store. I know that when I signed up, I was skeptical because my clothing tastes are pretty basic, as anyone who's ever seen me in person knows. My husband is the clothes horse in the family. He likes the fancy stuff. I like t-shirts, hoodies, and don't want no trouble. But they sent me a great selection of basic, good-looking clothes, and I found a few things that appealed even to me. It's a really fun, easy way to bulk up your wardrobe. And we have a special offer for our listeners for this show. For $25 off your first purchase, go to bombfell.com/savage. That's BOMBFELL.com/savage. Once again, bombfell.com/savage for $25 off your first purchase.
Hi, Dan. I'm calling from New York City, and I have a question regarding a relationship with a friend of mine. I have a good friend. I love him to death, but he can be kind of shady and selfish sometimes. He has wanted to move to Europe for several years, and it's pretty difficult to get a visa to go live over there. So he figured the best way to get a visa would be to marry someone so he could get residency and all that. He met a really nice guy from the Netherlands who seems to be, they're about the same age. They're both in their late 20s. This guy seems to be fairly well off. I don't know if his exact financial situation, but he seems to always have money. And they've been dating for about a year, and he finally, I guess, convinced him, I don't know who, he popped the question, and they're going to get married and go live in the Netherlands. Now, I know my friend is only marrying this guy because he wants to get the EU Schengen visa. Should I say something to this guy because he's a really nice guy and I really feel bad for him, or should I just mind my own business and keep my mouth shut?
You say your shady friend, and I'm wondering why you have a shady friend who's selfish and uses people. If that's the kind of person he is, why is that the kind of person you want to be friends with? But you say your selfish, shady friend is only marrying this guy for the visa, for the residency, to go live in Europe. And I'm curious how you know that for sure. Has your shady, selfish friend told you as much? Oh, I hate this guy. I don't really like him. I don't love him. I'm only marrying him because, as you know, I have always wanted to get my hands on an EU passport and go live in Europe, and this is the only way to do it. Do you know that for sure? It is possible that your friend has always wanted to go to Europe. Your friend has always wanted to live in Europe. Your friend has always thought it would be great to marry someone who is a European because then I could have the life that I've always wanted to have. And along comes this guy and he likes him. Maybe he even loves him, and he gets to have with him a partner, a lover, a husband, and the life that he's always wanted. That came as a part of the package. And it's part of what he found attractive about the guy, that being with this guy, falling in love with this guy, if indeed he did, would bring with it this other thing that he always wanted. That's not necessarily awful. So unless your friend has told you that he doesn't love this guy and that the visa or the residency, the passport, those are the only reasons that he's marrying this guy, keep your fucking mouth shut. You don't know what's in your friend's heart. There are people who want X out of life, and they sometimes go seek partners who want X as well. And they marry them. They fall in love with that kind of person, the person who wants in life the things that they want in life, or makes possible for them the things that they want in life. That's not always an illegitimate reason. People seek partners for all sorts of reasons. It's a problem if the only reason you're marrying someone is because of X. That's it. You're only marrying them for their money. You're only marrying them because they live in a part of the world that you want to live in. You're only marrying them because they share your faith and it's to please your parents. You're only marrying them because of X. That would be a selfish and shady thing to do. Marrying them because they bring X to the table and X is something you've always wanted. They also are someone that you're attracted to, someone that you enjoy spending time with, that you are genuinely and romantically in love with. That's not illegitimate. That's not awful. That's not terrible. So I would advise you to back the fuck off and keep your mouth shut unless your friend has made it clear to you that he is indeed using this guy and is going to destroy this guy and take his money and take the passport after a couple of years and leave the guy devastated. Then maybe speak up. Otherwise, shut up.
Hi, Dan and the tech-savvy at-risk youth. Question about weed in the bedroom. You mentioned using it a lot, and I'm happy to. The stuff I use usually is just for sleep and knocks me out, which is not so good for sex. I don't want to sleep through it. So the THC and CBD ratios, what do you suggest? I'm guessing you would suggest Satvia versus indica, but I'd like to know if there's a killer combo. I've kind of accidentally had some that was amazing, but didn't know what it was, but it sure worked. So I'd love to know what it was or what the best combo would be, and any other feedback you have around 420 use and multiple orgasms.
Joining me to discuss 420 use and multiple orgasms, David Schmader, author of Weed, the User's Guide, and senior editor at the All Things Cannabis website, leafly.com. Hey, Dave.
Hi, Dan.
It's so good to have you back.
Thanks.
So, about your multiple orgasm problem.
I don't have the time for all the orgasms I'm having.
I don't either. That's the thing I don't, like, people talk about multiple orgasms like they're a wonderful thing in all cases, but this capacity that women have, this superpower, that the more orgasms they have, the more orgasms they can have, potentially insatiable, limitless orgasmic potential. And I'm always really glad that I'm gay because, like, oh, you came, we're done. We can have some ice cream. We can smoke some more pot and go to bed.
It is a superpower, and I'm jealous.
Which is the multiple orgasms thing or knowing when you're fucking done?
Multiple orgasms.
Okay. So some people, I recommend pot to people all the time, but I'm not a pot connoisseur like you are. So people are often like, oh, let's talk about sativa. Let's talk about, what's the other one? Indica. And I use the pot that Terry puts in front of me. Just like I eat the groceries that Terry brings home. I don't know anything. For
you bone the thirds that Terry brings home.
Exactly. I don't know anything about procurement of pot groceries thirds. I just know about consumption of pot grocery thirds. You know about pot and its procurement and its strains. Yeah. So help this caller out.
Well, she's absolutely right that she should aim for a heavy sativa, and I bet that's what lit her up that one time. Also, this is a time.
Now, why sativa? Why does that?
Sativa is the brain tingly, creativity enhancing family of the cannabinoids.
And pot soaked in PCP. Popular with the kids these days.
Yeah, no one really. First of all, no one has any pot or PCP to waste. Who is giving it to kids for free? Who are these freaks?
I'm just kidding. There's no PCP, and we're not recommending PCP-laced pot.
And I think so. If she's in a legal state where she can go up to a store and say, "I want something that will make me feel sexy and awake for it," they will give her 6 options. If she's not,
all of them sativa strains,
I would bet. People are getting way more. The cutting edge bud tenders are getting beyond indica and sativa, and you'll soon be hearing about terpenes and entourage effects. So brace yourselves.
And Merlot. It's going to be as tedious. It's going to be as tedious soon as listening to people talk about wine. And
sativa and indica will be the red and white of that. It'll be like, it'll still work for 80% of us. Mm-hmm. Like, no, give me that. And other people say, you're not finessing this correctly.
But what is the white Zinfandel? My mother's corpse would like to know. Oh my God, my mother's spirit would like to know.
Her corpse is disinterested. Okay.
You're the only person I allow to joke to my face about my dead mama. Oh, but what is the white Zinfandel pot?
Well, what does white Zinfandel do to a person who drinks it?
It gets them drunk.
And is it like sparkly brains or okay? That's going to be more. Yeah, that's more about getting it in you and like kid stuff of like, I need the sweetest booze in the world.
The Bartles and James of pot.
Yeah, we used to call it Boone's Farm.
Okay, but no, backing up, we defined sativa. Indica is
more of the body high. It's end of the day. The big joke is indica keeps you in the couch, and sativa sunrise. And
which do you prefer?
I love sativa because it is literally generative. I have like 7 ideas.
And you write them all down.
Yes, and explore them. And I'm not the only one. There's lots of people who.
It's like God's Adderall.
Kind of, yes. And it grows places.
So to the caller, get thee to a legal pot shop and ask about sativa.
Yes, and if you're just if you're in a state that doesn't have such things and you're just dealing with what comes your way, caffeinate. It works well with all cannabis, but that'll keep you awake.
So coffee and cannabis together.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And if you get, what are those called? The little droppers?
Tinctures?
Tinctures.
Yeah.
If you get little vials of like pot oil, you can actually put it in your coffee.
Mm-hmm.
You could drink that shit at work.
Yep. And the tinctures, they land a little quicker than edibles because,
you absorb them right.
Yeah, you absorb them right in your mouth and it doesn't have to go through your liver. So yes, caffeinate if you are just dealing with the pot that's in front of you. And if not, sativa and have fun.
We have a lot of pot questions. We want you to stick around and answer some more.
I would love to.
Hi, Dan and the tech-savvy at-risk youth. I'm a 22-year-old straight girl from Mississippi. My question is about smoking pot and having sex. I discovered pretty early on into college that the only way I could come was if I was a little high. And usually this isn't a problem. I love smoking. I love being high, but after graduating, it's just come to my attention that it's not always easy or convenient to smoke every time I want to have sex. You know, if it's the middle of the day, I have to work, I can't go to work high. You know, it's just not always the best solution to be high all the time, even though I would love to be. So if you have any advice about how to come maybe without the help of some marijuana, that would be so helpful.
So listening to her call, I think of all the pot lubes that are out there now. Can you be locally high? Can you just get your pussy high with these lubricants?
It's not going to be the same type of, it's not psychoactive that way, but I had 6 women come over and put vaginal suppositories in and I interviewed them all as it was happening. And they were all like, there is a bloom in my womb. There is a bloom in my womb. And across the board, there was this feeling of, woo. So there is a feeling.
You say bloom in my womb and I think of those blooming onions at Australian Outback restaurant. Hopefully that did not happen to those women.
I didn't hear anything along those lines. So there is a topical relief, but it's not going to be the psychoactive brain tingly THC experience.
And she may need that brain. She may have some inhibitions that the pot like unlocks that puts her more in her body and more in the moment that helps her to come. Or maybe, you know, sometimes you smoke pot and you get sort of an all over body sensation. Maybe she just needs the like twat effect of the pot.
You wonder, like I was talking to Nancy here before you showed up about the kind of crutch use of cannabis. And you're like, I like crutches. I rely on crutches. I'm a crutch-based human. But there's a point where, and we were talking about, there's a phase of brainstorming where cannabis is a one-way track to just like 14 ideas right now. And sometimes I'm like, I could do that if I, without that, if I needed to. And what that would mean would probably be like sitting still and paying attention to your feelings and taking deep breaths,
and
not on a bong.
To do that?
And I often wonder if you just like all the same deep breaths that you were taking off a bong, just not on a bong, if you might have a perfectly lovely enhancement of your experience too. But that thing where
so you're recommending to her perhaps relaxation techniques, the physiological effect that pot has on you, see if you can't recreate it just by going through the motions, but without the pot. But and get into your body and get into the moment.
Yeah. But the other side is like, what do you tell people who I can't come without porn? How does this tie with that?
Well, I tell people who can't come without porn or can't come without gripping themselves in a very particular way to knock that shit off for 6 months or a year and see if they can't carve a new groove into their neural pathways that connect their brains to their junk and come in a new way.
That's would probably be the same thing with the cannabis of like, wait, you have to store up a horniness to override your natural inhibitions.
But I also tell people who, guys with the death grip masturbation style who have to pull out and jack themselves off at the end to come because they can't, because they've trained their dicks only to respond to that intensity of grip that a vag, a mouth, or an ass can't replicate. Give it 6 months, have sex. If you don't come, you don't come. You don't wait, and then always give yourself the grip at the end because nothing else is working. You just don't come. And eventually your dick is going to find a way to come. But if after 6 months your dick hasn't found a way to come, which is an outcome occasionally, but people have success with this method, if after 6 months and you really gave it that college try and it never worked, well, then this is just the way your dick works. And to the caller, I would say, give it a try. Maybe you have Dave here from Leafly.com telling you to maybe not smoke pot for 6 months or a year. But if in all that time it doesn't work and you need pot, well, then that's the way your orgasms work. And God gave you this gift to make sure that you can have these orgasms. And maybe when you don't have pot or don't have time to pot, those are the days that you have sex without climaxing. Because it's not always about the orgasm. We say that to men all the time. It doesn't always have to be about the orgasm. We don't say that to women all the time because so many women have problems achieving orgasms. So many women are trapped in bed with men who could give a shit about their orgasms. We're constantly encouraging women to masturbate and explore and center their orgasms. But, we can every once in a while say to somebody, you can have, even to a woman, you can have sex and really enjoy it without climaxing, and that's okay too. So if it's the middle of the day and you can't get high, but you still want to have sex. And then get high later at night at home and have sex again or masturbate about the sex you had earlier in the day. That would be my advice for her.
Mm-hmm.
David Schmader hung out and took some more questions with me on the Magnum that you can subscribe to at savagelovecast.com.
Hi, Dan and Tech Savvy at Rescue and Nancy. I've been with my boyfriend for almost 2 years, and he's one of the most creative, interesting people I've ever met in my life. I work in academia, and in addition to being very creative, he's very bad at pretty practical issues. For example, he's lost his phone about 8 times since I've known him in these 2 years, and either I endeavor to get that phone back for him, or he just doesn't have a phone, and then it's impossible to communicate with him, sometimes for months. Most recently when this happened, because of recent political events in our alternative facts universe, there's been a huge debate in my field about diversity, and I've happily come on the side of supporting diversity in my field, and I sent out an email for a graduate student group that I represent supporting scholars of color, and received several hundreds of emails from alt-right trolls doxing me, basically. And during all of this, he was nowhere to be found until a few days after it had all gone down. And I feel pretty betrayed by the lack of support I received. And this was a dramatic moment that made me really feel horrible, but part of a larger pattern of behavior. And I don't know what to do because I don't really feel I can trust him, and just feel very hurt. But I'm scared that I can't find someone who is interested in, talking to me. But he's been sort of difficult to talk to. So I just don't know what I should do, and I don't know if this is the compromise that I have to make or if this is the way it is.
I'm not sure I would want to be with someone who in a couple of years lost his cell phone 8 times, lost and had to replace his cell phone 8 times, because that's not someone you're going to be able to trust over the long haul with your checkbook or shared credit cards or kids or pets or your health at the end of your life, if they're the ones who have to remember to pull the plug and not misplace the plug. But if what happened is 8 times your boyfriend misplaced his cell phone, 8 times your boyfriend mislaid his cell phone and then wasn't instantly available to you in the moment that you required his attention because you needed to vent to someone, then I think you need to pull the stick out of your ass and not be quite so needy and helpless, and maybe expand, if you can, your support network so it's not just your boyfriend that you call on in moments of crisis and distress. But I may be biased because I'm old enough to remember a time when if you wanted to talk to your mom or your boyfriend or your husband about whatever was happening to you at work, whatever distressing shit was going down, you had to get them on a landline or see them at home that night when you got home, because people didn't carry around smartphones. I'm old enough to remember a time before smartphones, a time before everyone had their phone in their pocket, a time before we all had it in our heads that we should be able to summon our significant others instantaneously. And then we had to, if we were upset, leave a message and wait for a call back. And sometimes that took a while. And in that time, we would have to talk our own selves off whatever ledge we might be on at that moment, or turn to someone else who might be answering, might be by the phone at that time, or turn to a colleague or a coworker or a friend who was in closer proximity than the husband or mom or whoever else you wanted to talk to. So, yeah, if it's the former, boyfriend loses his cell phone every couple of months because he's a disorganized mess, yeah, probably not someone you want as a long-term partner. We want to be with someone who displays good judgment generally, and that displays carelessness and bad judgment pretty effectively. But if he just didn't have his phone on him or couldn't find it, so didn't get your message right away, buck up. He's still there for you. He's just not the kind of person who exists with his cell phone in his right hand or left hand wherever he goes and is always instantly available to you. Also known as normal life pre-smartphones.
Hi, I'm calling in response to episode 575, the woman whose boyfriend was in Spain and she was in the U.S. on a business trip. First off, this guy is red flag city. He's obviously cheating on you, obviously has control issues, and I 100% agree with Dan's advice. But the other thing I'd like to add is that if you say you're not normally a jealous person and he seems to be bringing out the worst in you and making you feel utter agony, then that should be much more telling than any of the other stuff. The people that, build you up are the people that you should try to surround yourself with. So dump that motherfucker already.
Hi, Dan. This is just a call from the Halloween episode, a comment about the woman who has the boyfriend with the Madonna whore complex. Something Dan didn't mention is that the guy might also be a very nice guy. I have the same problem in that I tend to be very nice, and that sometimes is a conflict with my dominant tendencies. And I wind up with a conflict simply because I have trouble saying what's going on in my head. So it could be that the guy just literally has a brain fart.
Hi, this is a message for the woman who called up about her husband who runs to confession every time they do something kinky, and is she doing something wrong? I think she should consider the possibility that going to confession is part of what makes it kinky, because if he wasn't doing something wrong, would this be any fun? I can say, having dated a divorced Muslim man who thought it was very, very haram to be fucking a white woman of Western descent, that part of what made me attractive was how haram I was. So, let your husband keep going to confession and being told that what he's doing is very, very bad. And then you'll keep doing it. Enjoy.
And we're going to leave it there. 206-302-2064 is the number here at the Savage Lovecast. If you'd like to record a question or a comment for a future show, give us a buzz, 206-302-2064. Be sure to read Savage Love, my weekly sex advice column at thestranger.com and other weekly newspapers all across the world. Follow me on Twitter at Big Dan Savage. Follow David Schmader on Twitter at David Schmader. Savage Lovecast is produced every week by Nancy Hartunian and me and the tech savvy at-risk youth and Nancy. We'll all be back at you next week with an installment of Savage Lovecast. Thanks for downloading.